This week, we will be wrapping up our second unit, the problem solution argument. And for the last couple of weeks, we have really been, or you guys have really been preparing to write your final essay, your problem solution essay. You've researched your sources, you've evaluated your sources. In your mind, you have established that a problem exists, and I hope that you have considered possible solutions. You've also taken the time, I hope, to figure out how your sources really relate to each other, to your argument, and how you can synthesize, though, into a contextualized background for your reader. So before we kind of talk about the elements that go into your problem solution paper, I want to talk a little bit about the key elements that you have to have in your problem solution argument, beginning with a well-defined problem. In order for your reader to accept your solution, you have to establish that a problem does indeed exist. Some problems are self-evident and relatively simple, and you don't need too much persuasive power to make people act. Other issues are more controversial, especially the issues that you guys have chosen. And some people see those issues as problems while others don't. Any problem solution essay has to establish that there is a problem and that it's serious enough to require a solution. Which brings me to the other key element of a problem solution paper. I know it seems kind of self-evident in the title of the type of essay or the genre of the essay, problem solution. So for your solution, once you have defined the problem, you need to describe the solution you're suggesting and explain it in enough detail for readers to understand what you're proposing. Sometimes you might suggest several possible solutions, analyze their merit, and then say which one you think will most likely solve the problem. Contingent upon that solution is a convincing argument for your proposed solution. You need to provide evidence to convince your readers that your solution is feasible and that it will, in fact, solve the problem. Keep in mind, at the heart of this essay is a structured argument. And I know that in English 111, you should have talked about the key components of what goes into an academic argument. For example, you'll need a debatable claim / thesis statement, one where you provide evidence for support for your logical reasons. You'll need to consider the opposition or objections that people may have to either your problem or your solution and offer concessions and rebuttals. Remember that kind of counterclaim that needs to go in every single argument. You'll also want to remember, because this is an argument, the rhetorical situation or these rhetorical strategies and appeals. If you think back to our first unit and the techniques or strategies that writers use to offer persuasive appeals, things like comparison, contrast, example, definitions, these techniques and strategies that appeal to logos, ethos, and pathos. And I really encourage you all to think about how to use some of those strategies in order to get your point across. When thinking about ethos, you want to appeal to your audience's sense of what is morally right or wrong. You want to establish yourself as someone who is authoritative, of someone who is reasonable, of someone who is well informed. And You want to appeal to your reader's sense of logic or reason. Think about profitability, efficiency, necessity of these solutions that you're trying to offer. And you also want to appeal to your audience's emotions and sentiments. And this is not necessarily, I don't mean to create some sort of fear or that kind of thing into your reader, but really look at common values that you want your reader to share with you, like security, safety, equity, things like that. And balance those sides of the triangle. Remember, all three of these have to be present somewhere in your essay, because ultimately the goal is to persuade your readers to consider the validity of your argument and accept your proposed solution and perhaps take some kind of action. You'll want to conclude your proposal by noting the outcomes likely to result by following your recommendations. And that is your call to action. What can your readers do to implement your solution? And the final element to include, and this is really important, is an appropriate tone. Remember, tone is all about how you say things or your word choice. Since you're trying to persuade your readers to act, having an appropriate tone is one that you'll really want to be cognizant of. Readers will always react better to a reasonable, respectful presentation than to anger or self-righteousness. And that's not to mean that you can't come across as someone who is frustrated or someone who is concerned, but you don't want to belittle your reader and alienate them in a way that's going to shut them down and not consider the significance of both your problem and the value of your solution. So let's consider how to structure your essay or what you need to include in the various parts of your essay. And of course, you always want to start with your introduction. And in your introduction, the best way that I think to approach this essay is to engage your reader with something they don't know. And in order to do that, you want to connect your topic to your local area and time, because remember, these problems have to be connected to us in a regional kind of way and also in a timely, relevant manner. Explain why this topic deserves our attention now and not, 20 years ago or 20 years from now. Then you want to make sure that you assert your claim. You want to provide your thesis that is a debatable position and one that offers a multi-pronged solution geared for the local area. In addition to your introduction, you also want to have one, maybe two paragraphs providing a context for your problem. In other words, a paragraph that really defines the problem. Provide background information that brings the audience up to speed on the issue, the history behind the problem, laws, court cases, or newsworthy events that shed light on this problem, and provide evidence. Show the current conversation surrounding this issue. And this is where your synthesis, your source synthesis, is going to play a role in your essay. You also may want to consider the root causes or reasons why the problem exists. And there may be more than one or two. You want to look at the most important and provide evidence for those root causes. You also want to consider the consequences, the outcomes if the problem is not solved, with potential evidence and explain why current solutions aren't working. And this is probably, I don't want to say the most important part of your essay, but you have to do this part of, you have to define the problem and provide a context for your paper for your audience, because if you don't have this section, then there's really no basis for your solution. And your solution can take 2, maybe 3 paragraphs, depending on how many solutions you want to offer. And your solutions are going to identify and explain one solution per paragraph. Each solution must target a local area and avoid just offering a change the law kind of solution. How does each solution address the root causes? Use your supporting evidence. Think about, to what degree has this solution been successful in other places, if it's been used in another state, another town, another area of the country. If this solution is completely original to you, explain why you think it'll work. Your proposed solutions are really going to indicate your comprehension of the problem. After you've considered possible solutions, then you want a section of your essay dedicated to evaluation, where you consider potential holes or problems in your proposed solutions. This is where you can offer concessions regarding potential problems and counter that with rebuttals by offering evidence. Consider the feasibility of the solution. Is it realistic? Offer some evidence. Weigh the impact of the solution on your targeted area and explain the steps to begin the process of carrying out your proposed solutions. You also may address any factors that may affect the process of carrying out these solutions. Really take the time to look at what you're offering to your audience objectively, but also convince them that this is a viable solution to this significant problem. And finally, the last section of your essay should be your conclusion. Which of your 2 proposed solutions will work best and why? Remind your reader why they should pay attention to this issue now. And then you want to conclude by offering a reasonable call to action to begin working on solutions. How you put these things together is entirely up to you and dependent on your specific problem, your specific solutions, but each of these elements need to be evident somewhere in your essay. I have provided for you all an example of a really good problem solution essay in Canvas, but really quickly, I want to look at the example with you all briefly. So if you notice, I have my title page with all of the information that I need, and this is all about sexual assault prevention on college campuses. I have my abstract, and then I have my introduction. And in my introduction, this student really kind of establishes the necessity, the relevancy, the timeliness of this of her issue, of her problem, by introducing a current kind of news article about something that happened in Washington, D.C. when a student is murdered on a jog near her home, near Logan Circle. And then she goes through and she talks about how this is not an isolated incident and how it is one that affects Germanna Community College. And then she goes on and she finally offers her claim and her offer to how we can best solve this problem for our local area. Then she has a section of her essay where she defines the problem, provides her context, and it's a couple different paragraphs. And then she offers solutions. And after she offers her solutions, she gives her evaluation and implementation, and then she concludes with her obvious conclusion. And I encourage you all to really think about using these headings in your essay because they're going to keep you on track. So take a look at this essay. It's a really, really well done problem solution argument that's been published with the Virginia Community College System, and it's fantastic and wonderful. So hang on really tight. In addition to the example that's laid out for you guys in Canvas, I've also provided a PDF where you can kind of brainstorm. There's more to it than this, but this is what the first page of it. But there is a solutions map on Canvas that I encourage you all to look at and use in helping organize your thoughts for your solutions and also for defining your problem. So take a look at all of these resources. Please email me if you have any questions. Come to my office hours if you have any questions. And I am looking forward to seeing how you guys put together all of your hard work to come up with what I know will be something worthwhile. So again, let me know if you have any questions, and I will be in touch with you guys later this week.